to have fresh peas all summer long. The second bed is garlic, both soft and hardneck garlic, that you plant in the fall and cover, and it actually starts growing in winter. And then we plant romaine lettuce in between the garlic, and the garlic protects the romaine from insects, and then put watermelon radish also in that bed. Then the other beds, we have tomatoes, and we always put French marigolds in our gardens. It also keeps insects away. Basil and tomatoes, basil and peppers are real good companion plants. So I put them together. Then you have tomato basil soup in one garden bed. The other bed we have potatoes and bok choy. And we have hanging baskets of mixed greens and microgreens and bunching onions, and then a tub of carrots. So almost anything you'd need in a grocery store. There's nothing like fresh grown food.
The Madeline Island Ferry, transporting passengers, bicycles, and vehicles between Bayfield, Wisconsin and Madeline Island, while our customers enjoy the beauty of Lake Superior and views of the Apostle Islands. Ferry schedule and information available at madferry.com.
Rick's Tree and Stump Removal provides tree care services in the Northland. Their certified arborists offer tree trimming, removal, and stump grinding for residential and commercial properties. More information at rickstreeduluth.com.
I think the most important thing to do is start out small. And when you're comfortable with having the area, the small area, the way you like it, then start expanding. Take advice from people who garden and people at the garden centers, but also listen to yourself. If it's a plant you love and you love where you plant it, you're going to love your gardens. Don't worry about being too perfect about them. Sometimes it being a little bit of a hot mess is a good thing. One other thing I'd like to say, and I see this a lot at the greenhouses, people tend to come in and they only want to buy a perennial that's in bloom. And if you do that, then you're only going to get the things that bloom that day. Either come to the greenhouse different times during the year or look at things that are not in bloom during that time period. It's really important to me to have things kind of coming and going at all times. And that's what I kind of call it as staging. I always want little pops of color coming and going at all times. Then you don't have to worry about the fact that a peony only blooms for 2 months or a lily for 10 days because something else is taking the stage for it.
The Madeline Island Ferry, transporting passengers, bicycles, and vehicles between Bayfield, Wisconsin and Madeline Island, while our customers enjoy the beauty of Lake Superior and views of the Apostle Islands. Ferry schedule and information available at madferry.com.
Rick's Tree and Stump Removal provides tree care services in the Northland. Their certified arborists offer tree trimming, removal, and stump grinding for residential and commercial properties. More information at rickstreeduluth.com.
So we started square foot gardening. The purpose of square foot or small container gardening is to get more produce out of a smaller area. And we started doing it about 10 years ago, and now we have 6 garden beds, and it really reduces our carbon footprint for one, and it also, it keeps us healthier by having homegrown foods. The first bed is beans and peas. They both climb up the trellis, and it produces enough to can beans, and I don't can peas, but to have fresh peas all summer long. The second bed is garlic, both soft and hardneck garlic, that you plant in the fall and cover, and it actually starts growing in winter. And then we plant romaine lettuce in between the garlic, and the garlic protects the romaine from insects, and then put watermelon radish also in that bed. Then the other beds, we have tomatoes, and we always put French marigolds in our gardens. It also keeps insects away. Basil and tomatoes, basil and peppers are real good companion plants. So I put them together. Then you have tomato basil soup in one garden bed. The other bed we have potatoes and bok choy, and we have
I like the way they lay them out. They're not just straight lines anymore.
Blueberries will take about 5 years for a bush to ripen before you can get a viable fruit crop off of it.
But this is the coneflower and very popular with bees.
This is a weeping larch, deciduous, so it'll turn golden in the fall.
The variety that we have, it's inspiring.
Hello, and thank you for joining for Great Gardening. I'm Sharon Young. We have some great tips and advice in store for you tonight. Joining me is garden professional Deb Burns-Erickson and horticulturist and educator Bob Olin. They are very ready to answer your gardening questions tonight. Our phone volunteers from the St. Louis County Master Gardeners are also standing by. Call locally at 218-788-2847 or email us at ask@pbsnorth.org. We're taking questions throughout the show, but first, let's check out the weather conditions out there.
Water.
Liquid water.
Wow,
We have
I've
lots
seen
of
that.
water. Yeah, lots of water.
And some green grass, finally. How long
Yes.
have we been waiting for that scene?
When that rain last week really helped
Warm
Yeah,
things
warm
up.
things
Yeah,
up. Everything.
Yeah. We're off to kind of a slow start, but at least we're off to a nice spring. It's coming. We needed that moisture, so that
We
was
really do,
critical.
right. Last
But
year we
really-
were worried about fire. Now
Yeah,
this year we
really
got
nice
good
rain
moisture.
on Monday. Absolutely.
So the plants are getting ready at UMD.
Yeah. And this kind of shows you all of that compaction, so you want to be a little careful. It's very early, but we should go through a lot of that damage. But you can see it on the lawns here. There's a lot of snow mold and other compaction that's occurring right there.
Yeah. And it's not too windy in this shot.
No.
That's nice.
Be a little
It's been so
careful. Don't
windy.
use the garden rake to pull any of that out. Just light raking right now and let things recover.
Nice.
Oh, love that green.
Buds are
Starting
still
to bud.
tight, but we're starting to
Are
get
we?
there.
Nice.
Keep calling in your questions tonight. But before we get to those, Bob, what would you like to start off with tonight?
Well, we had some real interesting experiences this spring because we had a rather remarkable winter. If I can take you back just a little bit, we had a real heavy snowfall early, and we were all kind of feeling good about that. It was dry. We like to see that protection on the soil, protect so many of our perennials. However, we had some rather severe animal vole damage that we've never seen before, so consequently we've changed some of our recommendations. People are going to be planting very soon. New quality tree stock is expensive, and you want to think about it as a long-term investment. So we're going to go back to really essentials for protecting some of these smooth bark trees, whether it's an ash tree, a sugar maple, or of course our apples and other fruit trees. First, protect from deer and rabbits, metal fencing. We can use repellents during the growing season, but during the winter we got to get a fence on there to protect them. And then, in addition to that, we got voles, gophers, and then sun scald. These can all impact the main stem of the tree, so we're going to use either plastic cylinders around that main stem or a tree wrap. Now, the critical thing about the cylinders, they don't necessarily have to be white. You can use a black drain tile, but you got to have an air gap between that plastic and the actual bark. And then the cylinders must be removed before there's contact between the stem and the plastic. So now this is where we're going to change our recommendations. based on the damage we saw last year. When the cylinders are removed, we're going to install a larger cylinder at the ground line because we've had vole damage even on more mature trees. So remember again, if you're going to use a tree wrap instead of a cylinder, you put it on in the fall. It's got to take it off in the spring. The worst thing that can happen is water that runs down between that impervious layer right there, our tree wraps. As soon as that bark begins to expand, they have to come off. And I'll show you some photos. Here's one where, you know, they expand very quickly. It can surprise you 3, 4, 5 years. And if you don't get it off, and you can see here some of the potential damage that comes from that. Here's some damage. This wasn't sun scald. This came from just leaving that color on 1 year too long. So we'll take a look again at, for refreshment here, or review, you want to take a look at that protection against deer and rabbits. And then, once again, here's an example where that collar stayed on too long. That cut will take a long time to heal up, if ever. And we can get this kind of effect as well. That tree's still going to live, but never has the same vigor. And these are the critters that cause all the damage. And this is a vole. And we want to thank Teresa from Duluth, who sent us these photos of one of her mature apple trees, and we'll show you what we got going there. Look at that damage. That's a very mature tree. We saw this multiple places. And I'd like to show you what can happen to a tree. I've got here just a birch, but all trees are similar. If you take a look at this is the phloem tissue right here. Anytime a varmint comes in and chews through that and cuts into this area right here, if it circumscribes the entire diameter or circumference of the tree, that tree basically is dead because there's no way to conduct that the sugars back down into the roots. So be very, very conscious of getting that protected. I want to show you this. These were two trees. This is a semi-dwarf tree followed by a standard tree. There's much more vigor in the standard tree. They seem to be resistant to this vole damage. The semi-dwarfs and the dwarfs are not. So you want to be sure, once again, that when you're protecting those trees, when you take that collar off, let's make sure we get a larger collar down on the baseline so that you don't have the damage. So this is the result. You get a beautiful tree that's very, very productive in producing fruit and will last a long time for you, 30, 40, 50 years.
Thank you so much, Bob. Now let's get to some of your questions. We have a viewer named Tessa who sent us some photos of some damage over a tree. She writes, "Help, our kitties climbed up our crabapple a few summers ago, leaving some scratch scars. They healed nicely, but then this fall I noticed the yellow-bellied sapsuckers tapping on it. Will this recover on its own, or should I treat it with wound dressing? The tree is about 7 years old."
Well, I think the kitty's getting a lot of credit for the damage that looks to be more like sun scald damage. There is some yellow-bellied sapsucker. You can hardly see it on the photo there. Nothing too much we can do about that. If it repeats, you could actually put a collar of window screen around that. But basically, the tree has to heal itself. The damage we see here is not going to kill a tree. It will reduce its growth to some extent. But that tree just basically has to recover on its own. Young trees should have that collar because that prevents the sun scald, which occurs when the sun reflects off the snow in late March, and then we get damage to that outer layer of the bark and inner bark.
And mostly on the south side of the tree. That's where you'll see it. That's a true tail.
South and west sides,
sun scald.
Of sun scald.
Yeah, good question. Lou in Duluth is having trouble growing rhubarb. They've tried several times buying new plants, and within 2 years they are gone and don't come back. Any hints would be greatly appreciated. They live in a wooded area just north of Duluth.
There it is.
That's
I think it's the wooded area. I think it's just too much shade because rhubarb should be a no-fail. It should not be hard to grow at all. It's a very easy crop, but if they're planting it in the shade, or it can become shady. I mean, you can plant it in an area and then it becomes shady, and then you'll lose it.
I would agree. It's almost considered a weed crop in a way, but full sun, good drainage, and then you have to control some of the turf. Some of the weeds will come in and take out a patch as well. But I think you're right.
Yeah.
Number one in a shaded area, it's full sun. You want full sun.
Great. Diane has shredded oak leaves from last fall and put in piles in black bags. She wants them for mulch and compost, but so far they just look like the same as they did when she placed them in the bags. How long does she need to get them to break down?
Well, it could be 50 years if she doesn't modify it a little bit. The good thing is she put them in the bags as a mulch, and we want them to stay dry, which is the issue right there, because you want a mulch to be fluffy. But if she wants compost now, she has to introduce two things. She has to introduce a little bit of moisture, and then to get the bacteria working, we got to get a nitrogen source. So that could be compost, could be well-rotted manure, it could be just a little bit of a synthetic commercial fertilizer. But she's got to get the water and the fertility in the bag, and then they'll break down very readily.
Or she can amend it into the soil ahead of time.
Or she could break it out.
Yeah, and
but
that'll
she
get
wants
it
to
done
compost
pretty quick.
Yeah, she wants to compost it within the bag, which actually is a pretty good environment because it will hold on to that, but we need those other components.
Excellent. Carol wants to know how to fertilize young pine trees.
Take a crack at that first. First off, all of these trees don't need a lot of fertility. You know, and that's one reason where we've got actually low fertile soils, and yet we've got a great conifer forest. But if she's going to fertilize, it's right now, just as the buds begin to break, and a little bit of fertility doesn't hurt at all. Use a balanced fertilizer.
Okay. All right. Carol in Hermantown last summer had a beautiful crop of broccoli, almost ready to harvest. And then some critters stripped one of the plants down to the stem. They have a well-fenced garden, deer and rabbit proof, but what critter do you think it was, and what would you suggest for this gardening season?
Depends on the fencing, doesn't it?
It does a little bit.
A little bit, but
I've struggled with the same issue.
as I think everyone has, right?
I really think she has ground squirrels.
Oh, okay.
And ground squirrels will get under a fence. They'll have their burrows up above, and they can do certainly a fair amount of damage. And basically, there are different kind of traps that can be used, but you're going to have to trap them out of there. They're pretty hard to control any other way.
Okay. These critters. Now, as we get into the growing season, let's take a look at a finished product. Last summer, we strolled through the colorful grounds of a home in Hermantown that will get anyone excited about gardening.
I think that's important in gardening, that you have a plan. And so I thought about, well, three things basically. I wanted color. And so, of course, I was very careful about choosing which perennials, it's mostly a perennial garden, would it give us some color. And then I looked at texture. That's so important, you know. You want to have soft coreopsis, or you want to have the strong 9-bar, you know, just the texture and the height is important. My name is Marcia Doty, and we're here at our garden in Hermantown. This garden is about 9 years old. It's all about timing. You try to have a garden that in the spring, new life, and you're excited about the color that's coming out. And then midsummer, of course, those things fade away, but you have other colors that come through. And then in the fall, it's so spectacular with new color. And it's just fun to think those things, you know, texture, color, timing. It's just exciting. But a plan is really important. I keep a journal, so I can know what to expect. And certainly we'd have storms that might hurt plants, or we didn't get enough snow. Believe it or not, that beautiful blanket of snow is really good for the garden. It's making sure they're fed and weeded. And now in the fall, there'll be some deadheading, and there'll be some cutting back.
Pasta, which are easy to grow, and they're kind of the Minnesota ground cover. These and the other purple one, these are called astilbe. They're a wonderful perennial, very hardy. I love to do the fairy garden because everything is in miniature, and so you look for miniature plants. This is a miniature sedum, and you can have the color with the violets that are so delicate and sweet. And then we have little figurines here that are our little fairies are sleeping. We have a couple of naughty people, the trolls by the bridge, and this little fairy sleeping. Our grandchildren really enjoy this. So that's my excuse for being able to do it, because I just am doing it for the grandkids. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about this. This is a perennial rock garden. So everything here comes up every year. That's what a perennial does. What's fun about this, it's all succulents, and it's so unique. There's such variety. For instance, this is going to propagate. This part will fall over, and little babies, a lot of people call them hens and chicks, but little babies will come out. And next year, I'll be surprised at what pops up. And I just let it be, let it have personality. So this is all succulents, rock garden perennial. And then this is obvious, of course, the roses. It's important that we
take care of the weeds that do come through the mulch. And so it's a lot of weeding. And then maybe I'll see a branch or something that's suffering and I'll have to snip it off. And just keeping the garden clean, well fed, hydrated. Almost sounds like I'm taking care of a child, doesn't it?
Such a beautiful garden. And by the way, Marcia's husband, Gary Doty, is a former mayor of Duluth. She says he's in charge of digging. Now, time to answer more of your questions. Barbara by Betty's Pies asked, I noticed last year that these very small white worms showed up in a second year of our raspberry hedge I planted, so she didn't eat them. What are they, and what can I do to eradicate them beforehand? I don't have many dead branches to trim at all.
We know what those are.
Yeah, we do.
This is the larva of the spotted winged Drosophila, the dreaded insect that causes so many problems with raspberries in particular, raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries. So I think really you want to, as soon as that berry is ripe, you want to harvest it. You want to harvest every first and second day. A pesticide program is going to be a nightmare for the homeowner because you've got waiting periods and you'll only get this adult lasers insect on the very ripe fruit, so there isn't enough time to get through the waiting period and to assure yourself that that product is safe or that that fruit is safe. So the best thing I think you can do is harvest every day, pick up any fruit that hits the ground, harvest, consume, preserve, freeze, and never let them get to the point where you see the little white worm, because they are kind of obnoxious.
Oh, okay.
Gross, yeah.
Yeah, just cook them down and
freeze them.
Freeze them,
just freeze them right away.
I left some sit and I had them just covered with white worms. I took a picture of that and I showed it to one audience, and 2 days later a woman called and said, never show that photo again. I've had nightmares ever since.
Right. Yeah, not
so
very
now
pleasant.
I warn people when I show them that photo.
Right. Mary in Duluth has rhododendrons that have been eaten by bunnies. I'm sorry, Mary. How do we stop this, and will it come back?
Ooh. Well, again, we're going back to the girdling. Has it gone all the way around the woody material? And then if it has, then we have real trouble.
And roadies aren't going to come real
no,
well
they
from,
don't.
from
no,
the root.
Any damage is going to really take them out quick.
Just going to have to wait and see. They'll pop the buds.
Right. Yeah, that's stored energy, so that'll be there anyway. But you're just going to have to look down
just
close.
Just going to have to watch and see if they come. Sometimes you just have to pay the price and replace them.
Right. Or you might get lucky. Hopefully, Mary gets lucky.
James wants to know if it's too late to trim apple trees in Ashland.
I'd say it's getting a little late. You know, you can always prune, but the buds have broken in most cases. I think it's a little warmer there.
Yes.
And that really, instead of encouraging the new growth, it rather restricts it. So I probably would wait until next year.
Okay. What are the restrictions, if any, concerning backyard composting in Duluth?
Oh, in Duluth.
I don't know. I live in Zim, so.
Well, I have a little idea. Now, ordinances can always change, but most municipalities, including Duluth, have got some kind of an ordinance on backyard composting. In Duluth, you have to have some kind of a container on 3 sides, so they'll let you access it on one side, but 3 sides. You can't put it right up under the property line, and I think there may be about a 20-foot restriction or a space that needs to be setback. There's the term I'm looking for. You can't have anything that has any obnoxious odors, so you're going to have to keep it aerobic. That means keeping the pile open. Just don't pile a bunch of grass in there, mix things up so it stays aerobic. And then you want to keep all the proteinaceous products, the eggs and the meat and everything else has to stay out of there so we don't attract vermin. So I haven't read the ordinance specifically, but those are some of the guidelines that are very typical of municipalities. Duluth isn't the only community. Just respect your neighbors, be a good composter, some kind of a containerized system.
Okay. Cheryl in Duluth wants to know, what was the major cause of tree damage this year, drought or ice or both?
It's what we showed a little earlier. I think the major cause was voles, and that came from the very, very early snowfall, and then these voles got so hungry, they went right through some of that old bark that they never really bothered with before, but I think they did a lot of damage.
Okay, good questions. Okay, Deb, we are so excited. What do you have for us tonight?
Okay, so I brought a few things. So right now, people are going to the garden center. Everybody's just itching to get dirty and to get into the dirt and to start some containers. So we do these things called pies. And so what we'll do is we put the combinations together of things that go together. And people like to have thrill, fill, and spill. We kind of focus on foliage color and foliage shape. We use coleus in almost everything because coleus is a great go-to. This is a coleus, and they just set off all the green foliage. And we like grasses, and we like a lot of dahlias. So we like, dahlias are great. They have great foliage. Sweet potato vines are great, and these are calibrachoas, and they just set everything off together. And they're not hard to plant. But what we like about doing this is the pie. And what we like about it is you can plant it ahead of time. You can plant it now. It doesn't take a ton of soil, and it contains the plants. Because a lot of times when people make their containers, they plant them in a big container, and then the things get too wet. They can never use it. It's hard to haul in and out. And honestly, if you leave your containers where you need to put them, you can use soil, full soil on the container, because a lot of people want to add like soda cans and foam to it. The plants would prefer it if you actually added soil, and the whole thing was soil. So what we do is, so if you have these containers or any little bowl with drainage, put some holes in it, or you could use a container from last year and fill it up with a little bit of soil. I'm going to do it in this pie because it's really handy when you put it into your container because it fits in. And this will fill a 16 to a 20-inch container when you're done. And this way you'll have like almost a month for it to grow up together, and you can bring it in and out of the house. You can, harden it off a little bit, make it cooler, or make it, and not overwater it. I think overwatering is a big problem. So, and we use a lot of geraniums. So I'm going to take this geranium, and it's a dark salmon. And so you just put it right in. Now, when you're considering making your containers, you should consider which way it's facing. Are you going to have a one-sided pot, or are you going to have an in-the-round pot? This one I think I'll do as a in-the-round. So this would be on the side. And then we like cannas also. This is a yellow canna. And then you just pop it out. It's really easy. I make a mess everywhere I go. And then you just put them, stand them up together like that. And then we're going to add a coleus. I think we'll go with this one because it's just really pretty, and the bronzy plays off really well with the coral, and it really makes it pop. So, and again, we're considering our foliage. And then I'm going to put it, I guess, I'm going to put it up in here.
So about a month it can last
in
this pie?
Yeah, it can last for a month because it takes a while for the roots then to rebound to start growing again. It needs to get to the edge of the pot. That's why a lot of times when you put a container together, it doesn't seem to grow for a long time because the roots need to get to the edge before it starts to put on vegetative weight.
That's great.
And so then I'll put in like a sweet potato there. And so you'll put this all together. You want it to be kind of level. That's not the greatest set for that geranium, but you want it level so that water can actually get in it and can settle the soil. I don't want you to pack that soil in. I just want you to level it out. And if you need to stake the geranium for a little bit, that would be fine. But this will grow together beautifully. And you got thrill, fill, spill, and all the foliar color too.
It's
easy
nice.
peasy.
The colors are so magnificent, aren't they?
Oh, the breeding is amazing what they're doing.
Yeah, and there's so much joy just in a small little container like that.
Right. But it becomes gigantic.
Yeah,
and you can
yeah.
make really big containers out of that.
Thank you, Deb. Now let's get to some of your questions. Carol in Superior has a 16 by 16 vegetable garden. It's been overcome with weeds. Should the soil be replaced?
Oh, the weeds need to be replaced.
Right.
Generally, none of us want weeds. They're competitors.
Right, exactly.
But if you got a good bed filled with weeds, you've got some fertility there. So
And they'll add fertility back if you till them in.
let's try to get the weeds out. But if she has perennial weeds, she will have to dig those out. We don't want to rototill those in. So I wouldn't give it, but I would spend a lot of time right now
Just pulling, like
pulling and digging and lifting. Getting any perennial weeds got that underground stems and rhizomes that have to be actually taken out. So you're going to spend plenty of time cleaning it up, and then she's going to be okay. Still have some annuals, but get some of those perennials out. So that if you're going good weeds, that means you can also grow good plants.
good plants,
ultimately.
right? That's
Yes.
true. Mary in West Duluth wants to know how to clean a rain barrel.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Last year was dry, and municipal water costs have gone up, so we've had a lot of interest in rain barrels. I think she's somewhat concerned about the algae. I'm not overly concerned. There are algicides that could be used.
You can throw a little bleach in there, people.
Clean them up a little bit,
easy.
and I think there are other things that we're going to be concerned about. It's going on
Right.
the plants, and I don't think I'd be too concerned. But a little bleach should be
A little
good.
bleach, I mean, it's going to refill. You're going to flush out all that
Yeah.
chlorine, whatever chlorine
10
you
to 1
have.
reduction, 10 parts water, 1 part
Easy.
bleach. It's good enough.
Yep.
Okay. Kathy in Superior has ever-bearing strawberries in the south side of the house. They do great in July, but in August, all the berries are mushy and tasteless. Why is this?
Well, I'm gonna say that it's probably the heat that's getting it late in the year. If you get fast growth on an everbearer, now what's kind of sad about that is usually we get a real good fall crop. So I'd be
Cools
moving if she could. I don't know, were those in containers? Did she say?
She didn't say no, just on the south
Planted
side.
on the south side.
Okay, if
sit
they're on
in
the
the
south
ground.
side, even maybe a little partial screen. I'd rather see an east exposure, something like that, where we don't get that intense heat in the fall. Yeah, I think it's heat related. Particularly if you're close to a structure,
Exactly.
a masonry structure that holds on to a lot of heat. So she might want to move them out and away if there's any masonry involved, or reflection off a lightly colored building.
Yeah, that
Too
makes
much heat in the
sense.
fall of the year.
Marion Cromwell wants to know, when should a rose bush be pruned? Hers is very large and over 20 years old.
Ooh, right now. Let's just clean it up. Let's clean that crown area up. You got to get airflow through it. I would take it back. I mean, if it's really large after 20 years, I can't imagine it's pretty large. But you could take it back a third to half and then clean up that crown to get some good airflow. And then that'll flush a lot of buds out too. And
Okay.
then fertilize it after you're done.
Yeah.
Margaret in Hibbing has a rhubarb that has golden damage after the frost. Do they need to replace the soil surrounding the plant as well as the plant? Golden damage.
Did she say golden?
Golden.
Damage.
Okay, first off, it's a little early because most rhubarb is just beginning to emerge. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe there was a warm spot. Rhubarb, if we have rhubarb up and have a fire, it's usually frost resistant. But if we have a real heavy frost or freeze, then you're just going to have to cut that back. It's the only time that the stems can actually be poisonous. There's oxalic acid in the leaves, so we never eat the leaves. Stems are never poisonous unless we get a real hard freeze. So that would be my only concern, cutting them down and letting them regrow, particularly this early.
Shouldn't be a problem after
Shouldn't
that.
be a problem, no.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And of course, a special thank you to Bob and Deb for sharing their expertise. We invite you to join us next week at 7 p.m. Thursday for the next episode of Great Gardening. In the meantime, have a wonderful evening.
Like it, then start expanding. Take advice from people who garden and people at the garden centers, but also listen to yourself. If it's a plant you love and you love where you plant it, you're going to love your gardens. Don't worry about being too perfect about them. Sometimes it being a little bit of a hot mess is a good thing. One other thing I'd like to say, and I see this a lot at the greenhouses, people tend to come in and they only want to buy a perennial that's in bloom. And if you do that, then you're only going to get the things that bloom that day. Either come to the greenhouse different times during the year or look at things that are not in bloom during that time period. It's really important to me to have things kind of coming and going at all times. And that's what I kind of call it as staging. I always want little pops of color coming and going at all times. Then you don't have to worry about the fact that a peony only blooms for 2 months or a lily for 10 days because something else is taking the stage for it.
The Madeline Island Ferry, transporting passengers, bicycles, and vehicles between Bayfield, Wisconsin and Madeline Island, while our customers enjoy the beauty of Lake Superior and views of the Apostle Islands. Ferry schedule and information available at madferry.com.
Rick's Tree and Stump